welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EU League. It is Playday number 8 here, the penultimate one, as we're going to continue saying through this day. It's Cowana Gaming versus Team Secret, and I'm very excited to see who can take this game because they can save themselves from more dire situations later on in this year. Welcome back. I'm also the medic host of the show. With me are Desachu and Jess, and we're going to go through these games and see what is in them. How about we start with our rosters? Up first with Team Secret, who took a W in our last Playday. We had a chat with them. They're feeling a bit better, so let's see if they can continue the run.
You wouldn't think it looking at it, but Secret have got 3 wins this stage. They beat Na'Vi on Playday 1, they beat Rogue, they beat Untitled last week. That's not a bad run to have so far, and a win today will put them at 4-4. Again, given the kind of perception of them, I think would come to surprise quite a few. They are also one of only 3 teams that do not have an overtime win or loss. They've been pure wins or pure losses so far. I mentioned back in the pre-show about their role swaps as well as they stepped through. Keenan moved on to Hard Breach along with Patbull last week, for example. Massive play coming out of him in the 3rd round of their game last week. A 4K, a plant. What more can you ask from a support player in that situation? The one thing that makes me a little bit nervous is making changes in the mid-season can, lead to a little bit of disruption in the team. Some things can go wrong. The small mistakes that can cost you rounds may creep in, where you might assume one player previously used to watch, say, a drone for you, and now they aren't doing it, or they aren't holding a specific angle. It can come back to trip you up a little bit. So one thing to be aware of. The consistency in play, is the one big thing I'm watching out for today. Last week was round to round to round to round to round, back and forth between the 2 teams. Get some consistency. They can be a great team.
We've been saying that all stage. Let's see if it can happen today. On the other side, though, their opponents. Let's see. Cowana.
Oh my goodness. There is something on your screen right now. There is a dark figure looming. And there is a man who is about to make his appearance.
He's going to do a Hyper Arena, isn't
he?
If he pulls a Hyper Arena, it's going to be one of my favorite playdays here. But if you're wondering what is going on, Mr. Officer will be standing in for Kendrew today. And of course, that means there is a lot of weight on his shoulders. Kendrew being the IGL, one of the main shot callers for the team. Of course, when you put a coach in, I mean, they should know what to do as well. They're there in every scrim. And Mr. Officer is a very vocal player. He plays the game outside of coaching as well. So if anyone could stand in and do a good job and know exactly what is needed here today, it will be Mr. Officer. Be his first ever game here in Tier 1, at least to my knowledge, in the EUL circuit. And as a result, this bumpy roller coaster ride you can see in the round performance has meant Cowana need just a little bit more stability. And I don't know, we've seen coaches in both APAC North and EUL do some amazing things. So Mr. Officer, here's your chance.
Coaches can play is the one that we've been using for the past few years, ever since, when was it? It was end of 2018 with Dizzle in Brazil.
Amazing.
So, hey, maybe it could continue as over that time we had Gotcha, etc., that always played at that level. See what happens today, though. Our head-to-head, 1 player out of each one of these 2 teams. Let's see which 2 you guys have selected. It is Gorgona and Slabin.
Yeah, so this one here was down to the fact they're both playing very similar roles. Here on the attacking side, the Mozzie on the roam, a good few teams. Just brought it out for G2 earlier on. So in my mind, this sets up in a very similar way. Both of these players like to play that Intel Dinar roam-based game, normally with the C4 in the back pocket as well as one to think about. The big one that I do want to highlight, and it's not so much between the 2 players here, it's the stat that's off screen, is Cowana a -12 on entry as a team. Secret are +3. And between those, Gorg is the least involved entry on the whole team, despite being their 2nd entry player.
Right.
Now, Sloth is the one that we look at. 11 to 15, I think he is currently on entry. I really want to see Gorg get more involved here, and the player that he may come up against is a player like Sleben. Interestingly, all the Secret, it is very balanced in terms of entry involvement, but Gorg, I think, needs to have a much more active role in the early round today.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with Sloth sort of having one of the lowest survival ratings in all of EUL. Gorg, unfortunately, he's just going to have to stand up and be the side Gorg that everyone needs him to be. He needs to be the joystick of the team, because at the moment, not everyone is standing tall, and that's just how it is.
It's a rough time for Cowana, especially if you compare them to their Stage 1 performance, where I guess they wowed everybody in their premiere in the stage. As our lobby is being readied up, we're still not set. We'll see which map we'll be playing on here. 7 maps down, 1 to go. Will it be a classic?
Yes, it will.
It will. Oregon here for Team Secret as our decider. They'll go for attack as Cowana has picked defense. Your take, my friends?
Good luck dissecting which team banned what there with the logos being so akin to each other. One's
Yeah.
a little bit more pointy. No, honestly, going on to a map like Oregon, both teams know it. They've played it a number of times. But for Secret, the big one for me here is, again, a very structured map. If they'd gone something like a consulate or a coastline, I'd be quite concerned. But I think with Oregon being as structured as it is, you know, for these boys, I think it's a really good map for them to head to, given the new changes they've had come in. Structured maps really going to help you there, I think.
I have to talk about Cowana, though. The past 4 matches on Oregon, they have been hitting the stride on this map. We spoke a little negatively about them before, but now I can only speak positively, knowing that Secret have, for whatever reason, decided to go to Oregon instead of Cafe, which strikes me as a little odd. But if you look at the back sort of history, they 7-2'd Unknights in Stage 2, and that was a previous game on Oregon. Then in Stage 1, 8-7 BDS. Okay, so this is really good. Going back a bit more, yes, changes, I'm very aware, but nevertheless, we're still setting the tone here of the storyline as to what Team Secret could be capable of with good leadership. 7-5, of course, Team Secret, they've already gone against them before, but previous iteration, so little disclaimer. And then they 7-0 Train Hard back in the day.
Yeah.
So there is not a negative mark on their record here on this map. It could be the day they get it, but I don't know. Looks like it's sort of shifting the tides.
As you say, that lobby is ready, so we are good to go. Jess,
settle my nerves.
Very well done. It is time for us then to figure out which one of these two will go away scot-free. It's Cowana and the Team Secret. And on a classic again, it is Oregon. Justice, thank you so very much. Let us get into a game. Our lobby's ready, so our casters, Hap M, take it away.
There are some legends in this scene, some figures who it struggles to put them into words. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a TikTok to power the boys along. Maybe some days he has to pick up the gun and get into the map himself. Yes, Mr. Officer, the man, the myth, the legend, the coach, the face of the UK scene, Murat. He's playing today.
Is he still unbeaten?
I think technically yes, from when he played
he has never lost the game yet.
Yeah, when he was playing in Yukon for the Cowana roster, he was unbeaten. It's a terrifying force. The man is multi-talented. He sings.
He is the unstoppable
dances,
move and the immovable object both.
and he plays some good
He
gosh
does.
dang Siege.
He definitely does.
Okay, now we've done that. Cowana vs. Secret. We're back on Oregon because Hap and I only cast this or...
Yeah, that's also one of the legends that is going
It's
around.
one of the other legends.
In the
we cast a lot of
if
Oregon.
If there's Oregon, it's a 50-50% chance that's just on it.
Yeah. It's like Dez's dream. Monty. Gone. Monty removed instantly there against Secret. You can sort of get it into tricky situations there. You can cause problems against some of the pushes as well. I'm curious to see, you know, what role Mr. Officer sort of sits into in terms of if they juggle stuff around or they tried. Because Kendra obviously played quite a big role in terms of sort of IGLing and bringing the team together and driving some of the stats. And yeah, sure, no one's going to really know that like your coach, but at the same time, there's talking about it and there's stepping into it, which is not always the easiest task.
Was there a CGG page for Yukon?
No, they had their own stats page.
Otherwise,
We
I was
had our
going to
own.
pull up the statistics of Mr. Officer, see what he plays normally, but that is a bit more difficult now. Either way,
Let's message Affy. Affy, paging
Affy.
paging Dr. Affy.
Please, if you're listening, send it over.
DM all the stats, or Jacob as well. DM all the stats about Mr. Officer's playtime to Hap.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Cowana versus Secret. Starting on the defense here, and we have Cowana leading their way in. Now, as you've said, their dreams, their hopes for Mexico. I don't know how you say, gone.
I said they're out.
Yeah.
Oh, which language do you want?
Anything more interesting than English, to be honest. Because there's a lot of multi-languages here that you've...
Let me just Google a random language.
Okay.
Google Translate.
Well, maybe we should make it relevant.
Oh, never mind.
Medics just asked for us to say it in Croatian.
I don't know how to say it.
So now we know who's observing.
Now we know.
The
They
Croatian
didn't answer
sensation
before.
2. The secondary Croatian sensation after Nello is observing. Hey, we're in Oregon yet again. We've cast a lot of Oregon recently. We've seen a lot of Oregon. We've seen some teams. I mean, it's not really been too much of a sweep map. I think Virtus Pro were the only teams that so far have truly suffered in Oregon this split. Off the top of my head. Generally, it's been a lot of 7-5s, I think. But they lost to Navi on.
It is of course a very balanced map that does. it gets played quite a lot,
Yeah,
as we know from
goes the
experience, and for my feeling, it does indeed very often go on to these later parts of the stage. We rarely see 7-0, 7-2, or anything like that, and that is due to the fact that the map is that balanced. As Grizzly on that roam, it is a drone that will spot him out and will force him to fall back just a little bit. Cowana, they need to play this slow, but as well at the same time, do not give away too much control, because Secret will take it. There is still that chance for Secret that they can make it to Mexico. It's very slim, very, very slim. Like you probably don't expect it to happen, but there is an opportunity. And as well as the fact, of course, they want to set themselves up well for the entry into Stage 3, making sure that they are not in any risk of relegations.
Starts playing a little bit loose and wide on the back of the tower stairs here. You can sort of see Secret's shape. They have a bit of a drone. They're going with a single body deep all the way through. Sleben has some support from the hot work of the others around him, but otherwise, look at this. A quick sneak behind the Gemini down the back of Frieza stairs. They're hoping to punish the sort of width that Cowana were enjoying at the very start. They've met that first bit of the brick wall, but the amount of ground that they've been able to take in this opening minute and the amount of shepherding, Cowana, they started very stretched, but they didn't really get anything for it. They sort of slowed a minute down. They didn't try and bite back. They're more than happy to say, well, let's just stay one step ahead. Let's keep this gap. Let's keep ourselves safe, and let's have the fight down in Freezer itself as the hatches start to get popped around Laundry as well. Secret have cleared a lot of the map for themselves.
And Mew Jimmer, of course, will be stopping this hatch from being opened up, and Packbull will open up a couple of angles just to make sure that there's not a single one they can try and challenge you from. And as they shoot the Mew Jimmer, the hatch will be breached now. Grenades are being tossed down deep into the freezer as well, but do not go very far. And well, my disc actually will be catching the second one. Officer stays aggressive inside the freezer, wants to hold on to it with his life.
Well, now as we find ourselves still with a couple of frag grenades, they want to bounce them back, and round the corner it puts a scrape into the front of Mr. Officer. He's just going to sort of bury himself in. He's not going to hand over the territory just yet, eat as much drones on time as possible. Grizzly behind the bomb chassis in his position to swing round, and Sloth is sort of taking up that mantle down that long corridor as well. But here comes that drop in the pressure. Grizzly's the first to suffer the grenade right on Grizzly. He's got to move or he's going to suffer it, and he does. Packbull gets that pick up, but he knew he had no other option anyway. Gumphy gets the double down. Packbull goes deep, gets cut in half as the spray around the side with the pistol goes for 1 and 2. Can't quite lock it off. There it is, finally. Off the board. They have 30 seconds. Go for the pickup. Cowana wins the fight round the back stairs. Gives themselves a mantle of solidity as Anarchic digs deep with the shotgun. Finds themselves now in a 2 versus 1. The double of Anarchic Gorgona gets everything cooled off now, and Gumphy picked back up, but he's still ice cold inside Freezer. 15 seconds, no diffuser. He's looking for the fight either side, but Cavana's pulled themselves away. They have the split. They have the site control. They have a very good idea of where he is. He's going to try and find his way towards the diffuser, but he doesn't get very far. Gorgona pulls it back round for Cavana's first.
There we go, first round coming in. They managed to turn it around quite well. It was a 2v4 at some point, or at least a 2v3. Some quick picks coming through with the Ella as well, with that Scorpion. I look at Officer down there. He's wondering what he's going to be doing next. It's been a while since he's been in the server. Yukin last time, but as mentioned, unbeaten. That's a statistic that will hopefully carry them through here today, as he's getting back in that rhythm. Now Secret. They managed to get quite a good opening. They managed to get 3 kills out of 5, and after that they were basically being turned on their backs by 2 players. They were on the side of Cowana. Able to pick up these kills and shut them down, and that means their first defensive round is won. That means the basement is locked out, and that means we are going to that top floor now, to kids and dorms, which will have to be set up. Now, we do see very many different iterations from this lately. Often there is a bit of a extension in the walk-in closet that is becoming more and more common, but it seems like that is not something Cowana is willing to experiment with right now, as the reinforcement comes in. Just 1 for now, but surely the second one will follow.
I think the game Cowana is going to play today is a lot of more solidity. They're looking at the fact...
follow.
Yeah, they're looking at the fact that they obviously don't have their usual captain. They haven't got the usual IGL. They're going to have to play a game that I think takes the firefights where as late as possible, rather than lean massively into them. I'm curious, and obviously we'll only really get it on the watchbacks. Secret, they sort of started trying to drive their way through, and what stopped them? Obviously there was a body down, but you know, they're in that situation. They thought it was the smarter move to go for the pickup. Those sort of conversations, I think it's only going to really work in the favor of Cowana, because Cowana are a team that can react quickly. They have that sort of stability, and that sort of network and that linking of those 5 players of Secret, I think, is what might be able to pull them around. But here, yet again, very quick up Armory stairs.
Yeah, the Nook is really being used to, well, insert a player surgically. The camera is still up. They have absolute no ID. Now Keenan is already up this high. Just waits for the charge to reset. Now can start to try and sneak in potentially. Grenade gets tossed in, so at least the, well, situation, the awareness will be there for Cowana that a player is indeed near, and that means that the angle will now be watched as well.
Now then, Grizzly is really dancing a dangerous game around the foosball table here as the swing comes around the backside of Armory. Sloth, yet again, he's sort of peeking around the corners. He's sort of seeing if he can find anybody that wants to lean into a gunfight. Keenan is the first that might try and play the game, but look, they're sort of reformulating themselves around the backside of Attic. Sloth is going to dig in and trophy for as long as he can, but another cost of grenades as Grizzly tries to bring a little bit more semblance and balance around on the side of Walk-In. I said that they would give them the other space, sure, but this is where they want to meet them. They're sort of not letting them get that final push. They're going to say, well, we're not going to go on the big roam for the kills, but we are sure going to lock down the front door. Sloth and Grizzly for 1 apiece as the spray comes round. Keenan still cannot get any purchase on the top of the Armory stairs, an attempt to try and get anything else.
Has it been here for so long? He's meant to be the surgical blade to open up the side, but instead he's going to be one of the last 3 left. And the rotation that Cowana made came in clutch here. They managed to drop down that diffuser, of course lost someone straight away, but Sloth able to go for the refrag. Now Gumpy will come and help as well. Gets the kill down onto Sloth, does what needed to be done earlier, and now it's a 3-on-3 situation. Wall quickly has been reinforced. It's going to be making it a little bit tougher to make sure that that wall will open up and that they are going to be able to go into game.
Now then, Anarchic, you're buried on the back line, but you still have some potential here. The worry right now is Gomfy. 2 frag grenades still in pocket as the wall gets popped open. 40 seconds. Secret have a lot of time. They have a lot of ideas, and they're trying to formulate them. The back line has now fallen even further still, and they're just going to sort of long arm and hope that they don't quite get the handle onto the default plant spots as possible. They're stacking themselves up around Trophy Door. They know it's a bit of a death dive, but the shield isn't there for Cowana to have the cover on the swing. Hyph is a bit of a cross play here. The grenade is going to buy them the couple of seconds to move across, but Officer is unfortunately the big cost here as he tries to swing from the top of White. Another pickup. And with 10 seconds left, Hyph is just going to stick it and hope it's caught. It didn't get caught by the smoke itself, and we're in a post plant, but Anarchic makes sure not for very long. Hyph, low health, slithers his way out onto Trophy round the backside of Walk-In to get a little bit of a better angle as they're moving over to the diffuser. They know exactly where he is, but the angles, they're a little bit awkward to get the fight, but not for Cowana.
There you go. They're going to be able to get their second one in, and just a good time management here from Cowana. Really, they knew exactly that they could hold it off for just a little bit longer, and even if you lose your players left and right, as long as the time is starting to dwindle, they're going to be able to pick up that round. Now Cowana leading 2-0 twice, where Secret had an advantage, and twice they weren't able to convert it in the end. Of course, it took quite long before the opening came inside the Trophy. It just didn't happen until, of course, we had Gomfy moving in with Diana, picking up that pretty important kill. And again, not really a clutch, but definitely a fight back coming in from Cowana, who now heading into round number 3 will have to show the tertiary sites. And it is going to be the dining and kitchen area, not the meeting room, which means that a small tower hold is often on the board or often considered. The amount of people that are going up there is definitely going to be some utility place down there.
I'm kind of curious how this one's going to thread together, because obviously it's the tertiary site. It's the third site. It's the third place that they want to sort of get themselves in and lock down some control. But it's also the toughest to play the game that they're playing, which is this sort of... The front line is... They've emboldened the site. They've taken the lines around the site and said, we're going to strengthen these with bodies and with obviously utility. This one is a little bit trickier because the shape of the hold is a little bit awkward. It's a little bit wide at points, it's a little bit thin at points, and it means that they can't quite have that sort of solid front line, back line, which has just run them over those first 2, which is entirely how these first 2 sites have got to come and how they've wanted to meet Secret. So here... it's another attempt, and here, there's the bodies upstairs.
There's definitely some people upstairs that need to be cleared out first. around the attic, around the tower, around the kids' bedrooms. Slebin and Keenan again going to be the first ones in, and there is going to be yokai drones this time to try and cover. Of course, Keenan will be invisible to these cameras as long as the ability is activated and as long as he doesn't disturb the surroundings by running or shooting or knifing. And for now, Sloth not really being challenged inside of the big tower, and it's pretty calm actually. There's a minute, it's pretty silent. That's a Nitro Cell that just blew up, almost took out Hive, actually took care of the Excaris, I believe, that just have been placed down. That was the yokai drone that was going to be able to shut up, and it's Gomfy that gets the first kill for Secret.
As I said, this is the problem site right now because there are those gaps. There's those holes and those holds that don't quite have that solidity, that bold flat line where sort of Secret can, I guess, keep hitting their heads against it and Cowana can keep holding it as solidly. They've been able to strike, pull back. They remove Grizzly, a big gunner and a big bit of potential. Sloth.
Oh! What a shot.
Removes Gomfy. Had a rough idea of where he was, but for a man like that, that's all you really need. Is able to find one of those kills, move back, get a bit of revenge as they're still steadily trying to take over the top.
Officer around on the flank has the opportunity to hold down tight for now. On the freezers there, Secret on that top floor is trying to hold off to everything they currently got and put up as many vertical angles to support themselves by either taking control of security or the kitchen. So far, neither of that really happening yet. They need to make a move soon. There's 60 seconds on that clock, and there's still 4 members of Cowana ready to fight back, ready to strike at any given moment.
Can they try to formulate something here, Secret? You can see they're playing this thinking game. They're trying to work out roughly where the bodies are. Sloth still has and is having an adventure around on the back side, and that can't really go untested. It gives them the control of this sort of sliver plant here. It means that if Packbull is caught a bit unawares, he could be a problem. They're droning it out to make sure he has some semblance of safety, but Sloth is never that far away. So the sprays come around roughly to where he is, but look at the fact that we only have about 25 seconds left. They saw the barrel of a gun. They're going to work on those pings, but realize that, well, we're in a 3 versus 4 on the site, so let's try and push that advantage. We still need to try and get something from up top, but it's Officer round on the armory stairs that puts a bit of the fear in. Hive drives their way through onto the site itself. They're looking for revenge. There's the spray. There's Officer. Double! Mr. Officer brings the boys back into some semblance of safety. Slebin only has a second left. He sprays through, but Cowana make the triple rotation.
Triple rotation, and that means we're going back to that bottom floor just in a couple of seconds. But Officer there on the freezer stairs was just hiding the entire round, was able to pick up 2 of these kills. And as a result, they managed to stall some extra time as well. The last man, Slebin, not able to get the clutch in the end. Of course, he managed to get the kill onto Officer, but besides that, there was no time.
No time, and I think that's the problem right now. Secret, they've sort of worked it out themselves. It's something where, again, when we talk about this map, it is one where on your defenses, you're going to have a little bit more give, I think, especially on the sort of roster changes that we've had. But they're struggling for time. They're struggling to sort of hit that front wall. And even then, where they were trying to find Sloth and they were trying to work it out, everything that Secret's doing feels a little bit slow. And it's unfortunate because they can be a team that can strike with a lot of solidity and pace, but they're, you know, Cowana on the first couple of rounds weren't giving them anything. They're able to take something, but they've got to try and get into that mindset. They've got to go deep against Cowana.
And that's it, right? Like, we've had Secret that starts of the round quite well. This round, maybe not so much, but the previous 2 were quite okay starts. They had a lot of control. They had a lot of time back then as well, but every single time it's Cowana that turn it around and somehow managed to steal the round away from them. Now back to that bottom floor. Full rotation completed. All 3 rounds won. Well, what do you do then? Well, you start all over again. You're going to do the exact same thing. At least you try. And we do see the same setup coming in as well from the side of Cowana. But let's see if they're going to be able to, yet again, get away around here. Because if you remember, well, Secret had a 2-man advantage before the final execute started.
That's it. Back to square one and seeing if they can build behind it. Mr. Officer getting the double on the staircase was droned out entirely, and they went, well, let's try and solidify this kill. Okay, that was one of those situations where it becomes a bit of a spray and a trade, and it's an awkward fight. It is an awkward fight to take, especially when you're up against a gun like that and that sort of limitation. But Cowana are a team that builds in momentum. They're a team that sort of gets themselves a bit going, and you know, you're looking at an Arctic currently 4-0. He's the backline player, and if anything, that sort of solidifies the way that Cowanna's approach this game versus Secret is let's sort of have our front line hit it first, and then we've got an Arctic and Cowana on the sort of backline positions, or we've got, you know, an Arctic and Sloth is playing off on the backside. They've always got a front and a back, and Secret aren't, I think, properly exploiting that right now. They need to try and isolate some of these fights and try and put pressure in multiple places rather than just drive the spear on from a singular point.
That's it. They're very keen on getting the spear in with Keenan. Of course, on that Nuck, always the front one. The first one to enter. And of course, you do not really stand out when the ability is active, when the Helm... I believe it's Helm... Helm?
The what?
I'm not quite sure what the gadget name is called anymore. I barely see it. I forget about it. Either way.
The Gemini rep.
No. the one of Nuck.
Oh, yeah, it's like the Hell or something?
Yeah,
HL?
Hell sensor, something like that. Either way, as soon as that is activated, of course you do not be spotted on cams, and there is quite a lot of cams, and you know there's a drone on Grizzly potentially. You see right there, he managed to hack one. So there is an information game being played by Cowana, and surely the Nuck will be helping you get around it. But they haven't really been able to find the effects that they want to have with it because, well, yes, you bypass all that information, but then there's still a Banshee in place. And you know, you still get detected by those. That change didn't make out of TTS.
So, Grizzly sort of counter-droning the Iana there. They're having a bit of a dance around Freezer, and yeah, sure, there was a single body on the opposite side. It seems like they're still potentially going to try that. Cowana is the man that's keeping it on a bit of a lockdown here, and they still have all of their blue put together. Sloth has actually doubled down. I think they're expecting a little bit more pressure around, and the droning here by Grizzly is giving them all of that intel. They know exactly where it's being watched, and they know who's watching it, but as I said, you know, Cowana today, they're...
Cowana?
Cowana?
You just saw the man.
Okay.
He might be wanting to sneak. This may be trigger discipline, and he's trying to go all the way around, but it seems like Sleven has heard him. And they saw him on the drone as well, so there should be the information. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it should have been definitely aware. So either he's having the most insane flank and not wanting to give away his position, or he just didn't see.
Well, he pulls back upstairs. In the meantime, Sloth acts against Packbull on the opposite side. That's the diffuser, sort of in a tricky situation. Sloth came around on the opposite, got dropped. Keenan finds Officer as well. Cowana gets Sleven on the far side, but with 15 seconds, they're going to try and stick at an Arctic. And Grizzly have to try and lock it off, and they do. With not enough time to get all the way back, Grizzly for a double down the corridor. Cowana, I was literally about to say they're not going to try and push it too much, and then Cowana goes,
what about that?
Not only am I going to push it, I'm not even going to take the fight that you would have described as a push, and was...
Yeah, it was really confusing because they drone it out, they ping it.
They drone it, they ping it, they
he's
see
here.
him,
he looks at it.
and then they go.
Yeah, continues to rotate up, sees him a second time, and he's like, nah, I'm going to go all the way up and going to come back down through Freezer. I'm really not sure what happened there. They managed to get the win nonetheless, of course, so that is what counts. I'm just not sure if that was supposed to be a flank or if that was generally not him seeing him. Not seeing him.
I mean, the ping was... I guess that's one of the things.
We can ask.
We are in a very lucky situation in that we get everything with lovely bright outlines and we have the eyes of medics making sure that everything is caught.
It's still peculiar. Let's put it like that. It's a very, very difficult word for me to say, so this fits it. It was a difficult situation.
An Arctic 5-0.
That is insane, yes, for a smoke. And very often we do see these... Okay, sometimes we do see the smokes getting entry killed, which is quite odd.
Citizen showed that smoke can be a
entry fragger with smoke.
And now an Arctic's been like, lads, I want to step up. And
he's a new citizen.
I think you might be the first person ever.
I know.
It's
a bit of a...
used to describe an Arctic as the new citizen. But you never know. Maybe this is the start of him leading. Either way, he's having a fantastic game. And as I said, it's playing well around what Cowanna's doing. They're making sure that he's in these situations to strike once they've been weakened. This is a Cowana that's gotten a little bit more confident. Look at, they're sort of exploring their options a little bit more. They're getting more into the swing of things.
Well.
Officer is playing underneath this time round. He's in a position to try and put the pressure on a little bit later. He's got on a deep flank. This is a Cowana that, after those early games of emboldening the site, have gone, okay, let's stretch our legs a little bit. Let's play a little bit wider, give a little bit more of our game, give a little bit more of a bite, make it tougher to predict. And unfortunately, they're going to lose that opener there for them. Grizzly goes off the board. Officer is going to work on a steady creep, but the angle is being held by Packbull.
Well, we should definitely know now, as the camera has been taken care of. A drone will be set up, I believe. And Officer is again going for a different approach, heading back towards the big tower stairs potentially, or maybe even into the freezer. I'm not quite sure yet. He's still debating on what he wants to do, and there you have it. Into the freezer he goes. And due to that Flores drone we saw at the start, there's now no shield, there's no ADSs. They can just take care of the Aruni Syria laser gate, and the results start moving up. But Cowana still has a bit of a roam active. Gorgona offside, Officer offside. It's only Sloth and Anarchic currently that are trying to go for the challenge here, and Sleben is missing the first initial shots. It's Sloth to take a little bit of damage, so does Sleben. But for now, they're just holding on.
Sloth did a bit of an army crawl, but the drone is probably going to get a bit of a reveal there as Flores is steadily removing everything to stop the swing towards the football table. Plant, the spray comes round, just saw the edge, and the edge again. They can neither get a bit of the ground, but Packbull finally comes over, goes over the top, and you can see he is very quickly trying to formulate a way that they can build behind this. Officer has gone for a wide rotation, wants to try and punish Gomfi on the big double window, goes for the hop out, but Gomfi was prepared. Gorgona finds the first, but he's got to find 4 more if he wants to try and keep the flawless going. There's the second, can't quite get the third though, and Secret finally find their first round, find some pace, and could still set themselves up for what is a pretty standard 4-2
Yeah,
half.
exactly. Like it's not like their game is completely, you know, through the drain already by the fact that they were 0-4 behind. If they manage to set this up in a 4-2 fashion, then Secret still has a very good opportunity of winning the game, even though the first 4 rounds were sloppy at times. They manage to get opening kills, they just don't manage to complete them. And that is a problem we've seen, for example, from Cloud9. We've also seen from different teams, of course, throughout the years. But let's see if they can turn it around. Just one more round in this half to be played, but also to be gained for Secret. And if they do, you find yourself in that standard 4-2 split. In that standard split, which, if you would look at it and not watch the game, would say, yeah, that is what we would expect to happen when a game of Oregon is on. And thus, there's no reason to panic yet, because we're heading back to the top 4, and the take was very effective. The addition of the Flores that Keenan brought instead of the Nuck has been proven wonderful, because a lot of the utility taken out on the first attempt. The Nuck not really having an impact whatsoever. Yes, you sneak past scams. Yes, you managed to get a grenade up before being challenged, but now you managed to get those drones up, and they take out a shield and 2 ADSs in the first go, Banshees on the second and third, and suddenly you can actually go for a push without being slowed down.
Okay, let's see what taste of Cowana we get this time round. Obviously, Officer went pretty wide, went for a bit of an explore there and couldn't quite strike at the right time. They sort of lost a lot of their holds that were a bit loose here, and that's going to give Secret a bit of momentum, a bit of energy, a bit of more panache as they try and hit themselves against the wall of the site itself more direct and dead on. So, can they get a little bit of an adaptation here? Will Cowana react a little bit quicker to what's going on? Or will they even try and take the early fight on the open of walk-in as early as they did before? It was a bit of a quick loss for Grizzly in that sort of corner, and that meant that, yeah, it's all locked up this time. They've entirely locked off walk-in, they've entirely locked off trophy. They're going back to a little bit more of a solid hold here.
Does it not explode?
Is there a jam?
Well, no. Yeah, well, yes, actually. That might just jam it.
Just.
That will indeed just jam it. That is just in range. That means that there's no drone able to go through that door. They need to take care of that jammer first. And there is definitely an opportunity to do so. Just need to get Gomfi over, get a grenade over the top, and you might be able to get rid of that jammer. And after that, work on getting your RC Retiros in. But for now, there's going to be Sleben from below, trying to take care of the mute jammer. It's still there, so another one needs to be used. It's in the deep corner. That one will be gotten. There's, of course, a second one still on the left-hand side, but this one will actually detonate and will create an opening into walk-in. It's going to allow them to at least put a little bit of pressure down onto these members of Cowana, who need to hold on with their dear lives.
So, they've gone back to a sort of plan A here. They have a lot of the bodies still playing on the backline. Sloth is hoping somebody drifts a little bit loose on Armory Stairs, and puts a bit of a mistake on the board, but currently they haven't gone that wide. They know what they want to try and get a mantle of control on. It's directing themselves directly towards the site itself. The next mute jammer, I think that just caught that Flores. They burn the arena gate with one more now, and that was a very quick fix on an audio bug. Medics are so gosh dang good at this, as the grenade is prepped to get that mute jammer on the other side.
Definitely so, and second one is about to be tossed in. We'll be coming inside the armory. We'll force Anarchic just to back a little bit. Allows him to not really challenge the angle. Nitro be tossed out. No real damage will be done as Hive is trying to still challenge the bottom part, but it's going to be Officer Sloth actually around there that will pick up the kill onto Hive.
Goes back up the back of White Stairs as the canister stops them trying to make the swing in, and the swing gets locked down by Cowana on Trophy Door as well. Slevin and Packball a little bit isolated, and Arctic still has the long arm and the angle if he wants to, and well, has the ability to try and throw more pressure around. Cogana's out of smokes, but they've got their own as they cover their movement there, as suddenly a Malusi swung around, but Sloth for a double on the far side leaves. Just Keenan not for very long, a 4K for Sloth to end the half and put them on 5 rounds of 6.
5 out of 6. It's pretty decent here, especially given the fact that, you know, they made a last-minute change to their lineup. Officer now coming in, and of course, he's a legend. And of course, he has been unbeaten, but that does also need to translate over to the EUL, which for now starts off quite well. 5-1. It's a very good start. Sloth and Gorgona both on 8. Really managing to hammer it down for them. And now they're going over to the attack. This is where potential trouble comes in for Cowana, because I don't want to say it, but defense in general is a bit easier compared to the attack, because the attack is where the true coordination needs to start coming out, and that is going to be coming out now. Cowana, what can Officer do? What can he bring? He's bringing the grenades. He's bringing the sledge. With that, he will be the designated soft breach. We're going to go to that bottom floor as well, so really wants to get rid of any piece of utility that he can. There's not that much he can really do in terms of verticality on this map towards that basement. Might be able to open up a little bit of longer angles by, you know, creating rotations through kitchen and dining. But that's about it. That's about all you can do with that sledgehammer. The rest will really come down on the gun skill and the grenade use of Mr. Officer.
Secret. You are probably going to have a bit of a better time on your defense. I know it's something that we've already sort of discussed and highlighted, is not only as a team do you sort of have a bit more of a prevalence on your defenses at the minute, but at the same time, you know, you have the chance to try and take away from a team that's had a pretty recent change.
Yeah.
And you have the structure of Oregon. You have a map that can be very solid. Often, these games end up with sort of heftedly sided sides, and then it's a bit of a rebuild in the second half. So, there's still a lot to play for here, and they're going to start with the hold down underneath. Sloth suffers first. Bit on the approach here on tower stairs.
A little bit of damage taken, nothing too major yet, and he's about to head down. Barbed wire will be taken care of quickly. This will put some pace down. ADS is quickly being put up by Gumphy as well. There's a magnet at the bottom of the stairs. They're really keen on holding on to this. Some more of them are being pushed up. You really got to hope that they're not going to throw a grenade through, but because that is going to be taking care of both those magnets. Of course, the explosion would still occur. Now, they're just holding. It's a bit of a stall that is coming in from Cowana. They're rotating around, trying to take the cover, trying to take the control that they need, and working opening up these hatches in the meantime, whilst making sure that they're not being flanked. And that leaves for a bit of a slow part of this round, as a third disc is being tossed out throughout blue to the barrels.
I think they've read just how much is buried over on this side. That's all the ADSs as well, by the looks of it, were generally formulated over there too. They have a bit of a jam here on the split. They're going to make sure that they can sort of operate around the freezer rotation too. Sloth is just going to sort of stay there. They've got the E-box hatch open. They've forced a bit of a shape, and you can see that Secret is reacting to this. Gumphy has now retaken a space inside freezer and pulled his way up. It's such a lot of denial all across the board here, and it's making Covana's usual game of try and find a weakness and charge in a lot tougher to bring together right now.
Evil Eye is placed in a position where it's going to be difficult for them to, well, get drones through in the actual side of Freezer, and ADS will be picking up the first grenade. There's still going to be 4 left on the side of Cowana, so they quickly need to follow it up, and that's exactly what Gorgona's going to be doing, trying to bounce it off the wall there. That is actually going to go through and take care of the Evil Eye. That was placed down, but still, it is going to be Gumpy in a very safe position. The ADS and the Mew Gem are right around the corner. Second one will be cooked. That comes right in. Gumpy on 1 HP somehow survives.
So low, and that's going to make things very sort of difficult because they might just not know how low that they are, and physically too. The swing comes on the corner, and that's a pickup for Gumpy. They assumed it was clear. There's another spray, and there's a flawless for Secret.
There they go, beautifully clutched up. You can say a little bit of luck. That 1 HP was left on the Jaeger. Just thrown right behind the ADS. That got wasted a second beforehand. And that's going to be the first round. That Secret win out of, well, hopefully for them, the many to stay in the fight for the major. Because they need to get a full 6 points. If they drop points now, I believe it's them and VP both eliminated from the fight. And thus, there is going to be more than one person watching this game, hoping that they are going to be able to go for that win. 6 picks are coming in. We do see the Flores making space for the Yana. We do see the Ela coming in instead of the Mozzie as well. Not quite sure how effective the Flores will be, given the fact that the Mute is still on the board. It's a very big counter for it, especially with how smart these EUL teams are with placing their Mute Gemmers, making sure that there's absolutely not a single way to get through. And suddenly, you know, where we had a meta beforehand where Shields, Evil Eyes, and Banshees needed to be cleared with explosives, it pretty much turned into Mute Gemmers that need to be cleared. Because if you get the Mute Gemmer, you can get those 4 Flores drones in, and you can kill whatever piece of utility you want after that, because nothing else counters it except for bullets. Or maybe something like electrified gadgets as in barbed wire or anything like that. But yeah, like, you need to get rid of these Mew Gemmers. They have become so much more important. And if you look at that top floor, they are set up in the small tower as well. I believe maybe even 2 or 3 around the corner, making sure that no drone will make it in. And we'll be able to give away information. But it seems like Secret have read that the push is not going to be coming down from the small tower, as 2 members instantly jump down and head towards the rest of the site.
Cowana, they're going for, again, this bit of a wider take. As I said, they're a team that likes to sort of stretch themselves on the opener. They look for intel anywhere that they can get their hands on it and build behind it. And here, no different. They have themselves sort of clearing across the top here. Cowana is driving that Flores around the back side to have a little bit more, I guess, control and concern. But look at this. Sloth, he's waiting for the pressure to be applied as the drone comes around the corner. They're looking for, again, a little bit more of an intense fight here. There's the reveal of Eigth close in, and Sleben is buried around on the back behind the Dawn side too. So it's now a matter of seeing if they can uproot these 2 bodies.
Of course, Gumpy playing on the white stairs will be the important part. Hive needs that cover because he's about to be pushed from 2 sides. Natural will be tossed out as well. Inside will actually be sniped out by Sloth. Wasn't even going to be hitting Gorgona, but he's still going to do some target practice there. And trying to open up the fire into the kids, but unfortunately, no one there to be found.
Fishing and seeing what can come out of it. The first is the body there dropped, and Arctic goes down 2 inside the door of Trophy. They will be able to get that back up, as you can see on the far side, but it's a bit of a blow. That C4, as Sloth moved through, put a bit of fear into the movement there, shook the fight as it came around the corner, and now it's become even tougher to sort of uproot and get them out. There is the push and the pressure. They're forcing them steadily further and further back. They have the Maverick hole on the top as the grenades are trying to bounce around as well. They're trying to steadily remove the electricity on that wall and get the bodies out. As everything starts to get banned, Hive is in a position to try and drop out. Isn't going to take it. Still moving around, still trying to find a fight here. Gumpy gets dropped, Hive gets Grizzly, and Gorgona gets a double. In and amongst all of it, they've been able to at least find that control over the top, but in this 3 versus 3 where Anarchic's already gone down, they still have to get control of the site.
I'll start doing that by taking the kitchen. Of course, there is that door that still has to be opened up. I believe a Secret Zero will be used forward to take care of the barbed wire and the actual door, whilst the rest of Cowana is opening up above, trying to get these vertical holes in, trying to get these angles in to put up some pressure into Sleben, who's in a very important spot now as a beautiful shot comes out from Cowana. If he picks this one up as well, they could be going for a potential plant. There's not much time left. It's a 1v3 here. He's going to go for the challenge, but the plant is going down in the meantime, and it's all up to Keenan now in a 1v3.
He's spraying through, but they spray more. Officer is the man who's able to lock it off in the end, built from the back of Gorgona, sort of taking a lot of initiative there. He was picking up the trades and the revenge for the bodies that were dropped on the top. Gonfi and Sleben did a great job holding on for as long as they did, but against a player like that on his day, it's quite tough to stop that. A lot of pace there, and they put themselves 1 round away.
1 round away of making the 3 points. You have 4 rounds to do it, Cowana. Gorgona absolutely having a wonderful matchup. 11 kills currently. Followed up by Sloth on 8 and Anarchic on 6. Now, Secret, what can you do? You're on your defense. You held on for quite long on that top floor, but eventually got overrun by Cowana. Should you have dropped earlier is then the big question. Were they, you know, too greedy on that top floor, really? Is the Rook being brought out. It's not an operator we do see much. I believe it was actually Secret that played him as well the first time we saw him in EUL this year, but I'm not quite sure. Saw him before, that's for sure. That was last week as well.
Yeah, because I remember we had a bit of a conversation, because it's an operator that you don't see very much of.
It was in Clubhouse,
Yeah,
on
but
the top 4 CCTV cache. That's where we saw him.
In a weird way, they offer a potential that it's one of those things. It's like the conversation around Oryx, where you say there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential there.
Potential.
And I think with this with the way that this game is, obviously it's a lot of scratchy firefights at the minute. It's a lot of you know roughly where people are going to be but there's a lot of movement in the firefights in Siege in the current meta. And having the ability to pull yourself back up and get yourself picked up, it could be a difference maker, especially when you're in a frontline situation. You think of those there, the chance of being able to crawl down, drop the hatch and get picked up. You're still a gun in a gunfight. You're still that sort of lock-off and that control, and that's something that could be big.
For sure.
But the asterisk is next to the word could, as it is with saying Oryx could be a big difference on a roam, or Aruni could be big on a plant.
I think that the big thing to mention as well is, of course, that you do not get instantly killed by grenades. And given the amount of grenades that Cowana have been bringing, I could understand that you want to have something against that. And, I mean, they have been playing Jaeger and Wamai quite a lot on the actual side of Cowana before, and Secret clearly not really feeling it as much as they did. Deciding to go for the Rook. Completely different take. We saw Cloud9, for example, trying to block a default plant as a result, leaving one vest inside. So they would pick up the vest rather than going for the entry there. That's Sloth. 5 gets taken out, and that is going to be a good start here for Cowana to try and lock it out.
Well, Gorgona gets dropped almost instantly by Gonfi. They try to go heavy, deep and hard onto the site itself, and this is something that Cowana often do, especially on match point where they have a lot of time to play around with these pushes, is change things up, be decisive. The grenade all the way to the back puts a bit of a scratch on Packbull, who still has 2 canisters in pocket. Officer suffers next, and it's Sleben round on the server side swing with Grizzly, and Grizzly doubling it down inside the site. The shield goes, but Gonfi tries to go a little bit deeper. Gonfi and Sleben did all the holding from above before, but now it's just down to Sleben inside the classroom to try and teach a lesson on what you do in this sort of situation. A 2 versus 1. Anarchic is going to stick that because he's a man who makes sure the plant stack goes off, even if players still are going off around them. Sleben has an idea of where somebody is, but can't quite take the first. Grizzly with a trouble. Locks out a bit of trouble here for Secret. Their dreams of Mexico are gone, even though it was statistically tough.
It was statistically tough, and now even tougher because 0-0-0 is not much.
Well, that's less than 0.001.
That is definitely less than 0.001. So their chances are gone. VP's chances are gone as well.
What is he saying?
I don't know.
Mr. Officer.
He was given, blow kisses earlier on.
Honestly.
What a man. Still unbeaten.
Still unbeaten.
Now from Yukin over to EUL as well, and then that means that... Is he really a mythical creature?
One of the only unbeaten EUL players, if not maybe, the only unbeaten EUL player of all time, Mr. Officer. But I guess we'll throw it over to our own Mr. Officer, in the guise
Yes.
of Milos. Please take it away.
Thank you. Mr. Officer, definitely my long lost